everyone. This is Raf Ahuja, and I'm here with Deb Jensen, a senior product manager with IBM in the IBM Data Management Group. So Deb, one of the things that we are coming across a lot from the customers is the demand for security and governance solutions.
Mm-hmm.
What's driving it?
Yeah, we really are getting a lot of demand from customers in that area, and there's a couple things driving it. Of course, there's regulatory compliance that's driving it. PCI is a big one right now. Customers are being required to, for example, encrypt all data at rest, and so they're struggling with, what's the best way for me to solve that requirement. Your traditional compliances such as HIPAA, SOX are always an issue for customers in terms of trying to solve those problems. In addition to that, there's just natural threats to your data. That data can be your customer data in terms of their private information, social security number, credit cards. It can be your employee data is really just as valuable as your customer data. And then if you think beyond just private data, there's trade secret data, there's financial data that really all requires that same level of protection. So, and in light of recent headline news, no company wants to make front page in terms of a security breach. So, seeing a lot of demand from customers from both the regulatory as well as just security threats in general.
All right, great. So, what does IBM have to offer in the area of data management for these governance and security related solutions?
Okay. Yeah, actually we've got a very wide portfolio to solve a lot of problems. The first thing is to really look at what is the number one problem you're trying to solve right now. Is it the PCI encryption problem that you're trying to solve? Is it, believe it or not, it's kind of unfortunate, but the highest threat level really comes from insiders. So how do you solve that when those people do have authority to the system? They have authority to the database. What am I going to do to protect against that? So we've got, like I say, a wide range of products in our security portfolio. So just kind of starting from a test environment, and we'll look at test, production, post-production. From a test environment, the biggest threat in a test environment is most companies tend to copy their production data down to test. That's a huge security risk because all that private data that you worried about protecting is probably unprotected in your test environment. So you've got social security numbers, credit card numbers in your test environment. So what we offer there is really a recent acquisition we made from Princeton Softech, which is the Optum solution. And what we can do as part of that copy process is transform the data or mask the data. So as it comes across, credit card numbers, for example, can be transformed. They're still valid in terms of the pattern that they follow, but they're not the real credit card number. So now you've protected that private data in your test environment. As we look at production, there's a few things we've got there. We talk about the authorized user, your employees. So for example, they may have access, as a manager, they may have access to an employee table. That employee table may contain the social security number. There's really no reason that manager would need access to that social security number. So we've got a solution with our databases called LBAC, or label-based access control, where what we can do is we can grant only certain portions of that row or record. So in other words, I can give access to everything but the social security number, and that manager can do his job. In addition to that, I can also just give him the rows applicable to his department. So now he only has, the rows for Department 10, for example, and not the other departments. So I've now, really restricted and mitigated my risk from an internal employee standpoint. If I kind of think along those same lines, what can I do from an internal standpoint? Auditing is really a solution that probably should be considered regardless of the threat you're trying to protect from. It really does solve a lot of problems, but when it comes to internal employees, if they've got a lot of access, probably a good candidate to have some auditing around so that you can see what they are accessing and if it's not a normal activity. In addition to those solutions, we've also got encryption. So we talked about PCI a little bit. That's a big struggle for customers right now. We've got an encryption solution that encrypts not just a column in the database, but actually the database file and the surrounding files, because with PCI, log files, for example, also require encryption. Backup tapes require encryption. So our database encryption expert handles all those various files with a single solution. So that's another offering in our portfolio. As we continue down and we look at post-production, one of the things a lot of companies struggle with is how much data should I be retaining? I know I need to retain, for example, 7 years of financial data for audit purposes, but what about after that 7th year has gone past? Any data that's past its prime should probably be archived. The more data you've got online and accessible, the more at risk you are to a breach. So that data can then be archived. It's still accessible, but it's no longer in the online store, and it's not as accessible to breach. And then in addition to that, we talked about encryption. You can certainly encrypt those archives as well. So as you can see, we've got a wide-ranging portfolio that covers you from test to production to post-production, whether you're OLTP or data warehouse. So these are the kind of solutions we're working with customers to solve those security threats.
And which versions of DB2 do these solutions work with?
These solutions work for DB2 LUW, they go back to version 8.2, and for DB2Z, they go back to version 8.
All right, so version 8 and version 9 of DB2 are covered.
That's correct.
Great. Thank you very much, Deb.
Yeah, thank you.